Anyway, still demonstrating against it? No. So these are fundamental essentials. Someone says, what's the Torah? That's a loaded question right there. That's a bad question. Because it has so many answers. That's already not good. Americans used to having, there's a question and answer, wrong. Like, what's the reason for is already a wrong question. What are one of the reasons for is a correct question. There is no reason for anything. There's at least 4 reasons. And according to later Kabbalah, as opposed to early Kabbalah, there's only 2 periods of Kabbalah. Early is Zoharic, later is Lurianic Kabbalah. According to Lurianic Kabbalah, there's 600,000 explanations for every verse in the Bible. That's a lot of information. But, okay, so there's not 1, but 2 Torahs. They're written. There's 24 books of the written Torah, the 5 books of Moses, 19 books of the prophets, yada yada. And there's the Bible, the Old Testament. Why do they call it the Old Testament? The truth is, Christians call it the Old Testament. Jews should not call it the Old Testament, because that means there's a New Testament. Wrong. They get this from, they have a bunch of what they call, the Christians, Christological references in the Jewish Bible. I came here as a yeshiva boy from Brooklyn, and I got an education. I didn't know there was any Christological on Jesus in the Jewish Bible. Was my Bible. I know my Bible. I'm a rabbi. I got it. I went to law school. I got it. I took the bar. I passed it. I got it. Whatever it is. And if it's in my Bible, virgin birth, that's a neat trick. I would know about that. How did I miss that one? There's a lot of miracles. I have a patient in the butts. A virgin birth. So I got to tell you, this is the point to interject and bring me back, because I have something called short-term memory loss. So that's when you're pushing 70. There's 3 things you forget. I told you this. Where you park the car, where you put the keys, and the 3rd thing I don't remember. So, but meanwhile, what was I telling you?
Well, if you don't remember where you parked the car, you don't need the key.
That's what I was thinking. Number 2, it doesn't. So the first one doesn't count because even if because you don't have anyway.
Yeah, but you're saying there is no Old Testament.
Right. Jeremiah 31:31. So they had a lot of these corruptions in the Christian scriptures. It's actually, let's get the name straight: Jewish scriptures, Christian scriptures. They say one good thing, you're supposed to speak good about the Jewish people. Henry Kissinger. I have too many good things to say about him, but you're supposed to speak good about the Jews. So one thing you could say about him, when he wrote the Bible to swear to be inaugurated as the Secretary of State of the United States of America, he said, oh, sorry, wrong Bible. The president is there. The whole administration is waiting, and this Jew has the chutzpah, God bless him, say, sorry, I'm not putting my hand to swear on this Bible. This is the wrong book. Inside the Jewish scripture, they put another book in there. Put them all there. They waited 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Till they got, I don't know if they, until they brought him, he's a Jew, bring a Jewish Bible, and
Who was this?
Kissinger. He married not one of ours, and it's a lot of bad things he did to Israel, but I'm not going to talk about it. No problem. But meanwhile, he waited. Okay, so it's called by a different name, the Old Testament wrong. So it says in Jeremiah 31:31, a new covenant. So they made it into Testament, which is not the same word. It's not the same word, first of all. Covenant means after the ISIS and Hamas and Fatah stopped shooting each other, or Syria just killed 200,000 of their own people. It's a bloodbath there. So after that, they make a peace treaty.
Yeah.
Then the peace treaty gets broken. So you make a new peace treaty. Not a new testament, a new covenant. Covenant means deal. So that's what they did. So they want to say, there's an Old Testament, and then there's the New Testament, which replaced the Old Testament. Hello, welcome. It's called the Hebrew Scriptures, the Torah, and people change it. So there's not one Torah, there's two. That's important to know. There's the Bible, 24 books of the Bible, and the second Torah is the oral Torah, which is not committed to writing, and it's called the
Gemara, the Gemara,
Oral
the
law.
Talmud.
Yes.
Talmud.
Talmud, which concerns the Gemara and the Mishnah. So there's two parts to the Talmud. There should be a Talmud in there. Oral Torah is 63 encyclopedic volumes, also known as the Talmud. And what we're interested here in Kabbalah Hanukkah is there's two Torahs, A and B, the revealed Torah. That's called the body of Torah. And the hidden Torah is called the soul of Torah. Nishmata deoraita. So you can flip that page as well. So we're up, so there's two Torahs, the oral, which is the first is the Bible, the written Torah, the one that Kissinger swore on. And the second was the Talmud, the 63 encyclopedic volumes of, it explained the written Torah, so it's written on the oral. For the written we had a cartoon, an important cartoon. Remember the cartoon? Pretty soon you're going to give this talk.
What's that?
Pretty soon you'll give the talk. The cartoon is Moses is writing with a feather quill pen on a parchment scroll. His eyes are lifted up to heaven, and the caption reads, how do you spell that again? So nothing original or innovative or creative. He was just taking dictation. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, how do you, okay. So now comes an important fundamental. There's a lot of English words, a lot of Hebrew words in the English language, besides the red language. But there's shekel, and there's, I don't say putz, but I mean, different, and words that we don't even realize. I have a daughter named, in English, her slave name, kind of, is A-U-R-A. Her name is Ora. Now anybody named Ora, that's a Hebrew word. How do you say light in Hebrew? Or. How do you say light in the feminine gender in Hebrew? Ora. My daughter's name is Ora. And she spelled it A-U-R-A. I see her aura. It comes from the Hebrew, it's Hebrew. The word paradise is a Hebrew word. It's made from 4 Hebrew letters, Pei, Resh, Dalet, Samach. But in English it's Pei, Resh, Dalet, or P-R-D-S. Now that's an acronym. So there's 4 Hebrew letters to the Hebrew word paradise, pardes. The first is pshat. So these, you know what an acronym is? IBM, I've been misled, you know, stuff like that? Yeah. So paradise is, there's 4 dimensions to infinite meanings in the Bible. Because there's 10 names of God. Sheva Shemot She'enan Nimchakim. What does that mean? 7 names that cannot be erased. So, but there's, so the infinite is Kishmo Kenhu. The name that is used by all the Kabbalists for God is Ein Sof. There's a lot of names for God, like 10, more, 7, but Ein Sof is the name used in every book of Kabbalah for God. Means limitless. So there's limitless meanings in the book he wrote. But the limitless meanings can be categorized into 4. The first is Pshat, the P of paradise. That means fundamental, literal, simple. That's what it says, that's what it means. That's the first level. Now you can flip the page.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you say it's limitless, how could we categorize it?
Because you can categorize limitless meanings. Limitless meanings, but in other words, let's put it this way. I'm in the people business 44 years, and each person is absolutely different, just like 6 billion pairs of fingerprints. However, my wife and I have been watching people for 35 years. We can categorize personalities. She reminds me of SD back in Seattle. Remember we met on that weekend? Everybody's different, but her personality is, remember when I said that she responded to me and when that other guy, so it's like, after a while, you can categorize people. So you can say that there are 6 billion people with 6 billion different kinds of fingerprints, but there could be subcategories where there's likeness, similarities in in the pshat. That's what it says, that's what it means. PR, paradise. So the R is for the word remez. That's a Hebrew word meaning hint, clue, allusion, implicit, as in not explicit, but implicit. Not what it says, but what it means. So under remez is 13 different kinds of biblical study. A fortiori means if Shabbat is more strict a day than Passover, and something is prohibited from doing on Passover, so we can deduce that on Shabbat, which is the stricter day, for sure it's, well, in Latin, a fortiori. So there's 13 different ways of doing that. If certain phraseology in a sentence has a certain word in it, and it says in the Torah you're supposed to do something to somebody's ear, they have two, we don't know which one. But the same syntax and the same word is used in Exodus as in Deuteronomy, then we could have one of them, and I mean in short. It's more involved, but, so that's one. The other is numerology. What's the most famous numerology?
The Bible code.
Yeah, but I mean, the most famous that everybody knows is lucky number 18,
Okay,
right? Don't go to Vegas with it, but I'm saying.
Mhm.
It's high, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
people know about that one. That's numerology, acronyms, anagrams, acrostics. What does that say? That's in my notes. I know what it says there. What's that?
Numerology.
I
That
don't know
says
what-
acrostics.
This over here, what does it say?
Acrostics.
No, this
Next
is
to
the thing over here.
numerology.
Tiny
The most popular is high.
Oh, that's a high, okay. That was for me. All right, so now you can flip that page. So that's PR, so the next one is coming is D. What does D stand for? Drush, ethics. Simple way of saying that in a kosher species of animal, there's another commandment. How many commandments are there in the Bible?
613.
613. One of them is, even a kosher species of animal, there's a prohibition. How many prohibitions are there under 613?
360.
There's thou shalt not. See,
242.
248 is thou shalt. It's easy to remember the other way. A no-no for every day of the year. 365 thou shalt nots. Take it away from 613, you get 248. And that's why the cantor repeats the last three words of the Shema. Because there's only 245 words in the most important prayer. And they want to remind you that there's 248 commandments. So the cantor, when there's a service going on, repeats the last three words and makes it from 245 to 248. So it all fits into place in sync. So Drush means don't slaughter the kosher species of animal, the mother and the daughter, the cow and the calf in the same day. Stuff like that. Okay, let's continue, because we did this is a review.
Flipping.
Yeah, flipping. We did this last time. So Pardes, S, that's the most important, what we're here for, secret. Secret teaching of Kabbalah. Pardes Sod, that means the esoteric, the metaphysical, mystical, cryptic, hidden soul. Yeah. So Harak and Luriat, two periods of Kabbalah. So early and later. So, but for me, it's the soul of it. Okay, continue. So Kabbalah is that part of the Torah, that's the soul of it, the hidden part. But it's the part that animates, that gives life. Okay, so only maybe 300 years ago, so let's put it this way. You have to understand the scene is better to understand how this happens. It gives more perspective. Moses comes down from Mount Sinai. Okay, is Olivia here? She never lets me tell this joke. Okay, she's not listening.
What?
No, okay, no.
I'm going to babysit, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. I'll tell a joke when you leave. No, this is but it illustrates the point, I mean, it's cute. But, so, it was, the original was, now this is the year, what year is this a Jewish year?
5775.
So, 5775. What year was the Sinai? The leaving Egypt,
2448.
getting the Torah Mount, I am the Lord, the whole day shall heard.
1948 BC. 24.
Actually, it's,
No, that's
2448.
you know what, you're right. It's 1948 BC, yeah.
No,
No,
well,
that's Abraham's birth.
that's Abraham's.
No.
Oh, he was 1313.
Abraham was 1948 on the Jewish calendar.
Right.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant.
No, he said BC.
BC.
He was.
This was the Jewish year, we did this year in 5775.
He was born in 1948.
And that was the year Sinai, the Ten Commandments, Sinai, 7 weeks after Egypt Exodus, was 2448. So it's 3,000 years and change. They got the Bible, the Torah.
Okay.
And a young whippersnapper, an orphan, age of 5, decided, now since that time, from Sinai until 300 years ago with a man called the Baal Shem Tov, that's his nickname, his name was Israel. Israel, that's a good name. So the whole time, only 3 of the 4 categories of the Torah was taught to the masses. Moses comes down from Mount Sinai. Who did he turn to first? He had a brother, his own brother, Aaron, who founded the priesthood. He was the first Kohen. He found it. He says, Brother Aaron, I got the book. What does it say? Okay, let's read it. What does it mean? I know, he told me, I'll tell you what it said. An eye for an eye, doesn't mean it. That's a non-literal, it's, that time was slavery. If a guy without an eye and a slave bought less market price. Okay, talking about 3,000 years ago and change. So the point is, it was not literal. No one ever got forbidden in Jewish religion was an eye taken out because you took out someone else's eye by accident. It didn't happen. So I mean, that's not what it means. And it's things like that. So, but they taught the Pshat, the Rebbe's Madrush, and the Sod to his brother Aaron. Then Aaron had 2 sons, Elazar and Itamar, his Moses' nephews. What's an example of Rebbe's? Parades. It says in the Torah, these are the children of Moses and Aaron. Elazar and Itamar, well, they can't be both the children of Moses and Aaron. One is the father, one is the uncle. What does it mean? These are the children of Moses and Aaron, Elazar and Itamar. It says that in the Bible. Exactly like I quoted you, John. There, the commentaries say, Kol HaMelamed Ben Chaverot Torah. Translation, please, Israeli people. Hello? Anybody here?
Anyone who teaches someone else Torah.
Yeah.
Someone else's kids.
The child of your fellow Torah. Ki'ilu Yoldo. Like the child. Because your parent brings you into this world, and your Torah teacher brings you into the next world dimension. So that's Remes. So, for all the generations, from Sinai until 300 years ago, there was something called Yechidei Skula. A group, private group, wasn't like the Masons, it's longer than the Masons. A private group called Yechidei Skula, means the chosen elites. Well, why are they called the chosen elites? Men or women, you had to be married, you had to be over 40, you had to be a scholar of the revealed Torah, you had to be a pious saint or saintess, and you had to, and then at 40, they put you in the kindergarten Kabbalah. So you're going to start now to study the very beginnings of it. And not everybody, very few people did that. People were afraid of it. Because some bad things happened to people, yada yada. I'm going to go into the details. So, the point is that very few people really were involved in the study of Kabbalah. It means, if you wanted to study Kabbalah, you had to have all these prerequisites, and then you had to really want to, you didn't have to do it, you had to really want to do it. Most people were Talmudic scholars. The Talmud was the essential of the vast ocean of Torah books, the Talmud. As you know, now they had Madison Square Garden, right? They had a Times Square thing. And this youth, it's thousands of people. Once in 7 years, they complete the whole Talmud. Actually, you study 2 pages every day. So once in 7 years. But they see people did it. There's something called the accidentaltalmudist.com. Amazing, it's online. Anyway, so the Baal Shem Tov said, so he was excommunicated obviously by the establishment, this radical orphan who never studied in school.
Somebody's car's blocking my neighbor's driveway.
And they called the tow truck, they all ring our
They have
doorbell.
cars too.
Yeah.
So it's in back of the white car here, and you can pull into my driveway.
What car is it? It's not mine, is it?
If it's an inch or a centimeter, the guy's driveway, he doesn't ring the doorbell, he calls the tow truck. You know, right?
I don't think it's.
I don't think they like when the Jews came and started making noise in his neighborhood. It's real quiet,
Oh, right here.
So when when they were, the Kabbalists in Spain, in Toledo, that's where
No,
Gloria
I
was.
knew there was some talking.
He was actually born in Jerusalem, but most of the Kabbalists came from Spain, to Israel.
And didn't they had a group that studied it back then?
In Tzfat, oh yeah.
I mean, in
All
Spain,
the time they had a group, but it's
Spain.
quiet.
very quiet.
Yeah, it was private. I mean, it was,
You know.
people had to have the prerequisites and they didn't let everybody in. I mean, it was a whole story there. First of all, Darizal had his own, he was called the Holy Lion. He had lion cubs. Study with him. But to get in, you had to have your life in your heart, I mean, because he could see a past life, you know, I mean, you want to expose yourself like that, okay. I mean, I'm not sure about it myself. I have no trouble with this life. It's like a boy.
Supposedly, the little I've read about it, the people who did that, it was akin to magic. I mean, they really knew how to move things around.
Well, it was called practical Kabbalah, I mean.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, Darizal could do stuff, no question about it.
Yeah.
He knew, you know, languages, he knew what the birds were saying. And,
Yeah. That's what I mean.
once, they keep changing his gravestone, but once upon a time, there's a Shirka Ari, a whole book, written a few hundred years ago, and supposedly by his student Chaim Vital, there is a student about him. It's called Praise of the Holy Lion of Tzfat. I mean, stuff you can't, unless you've been around it, you know? Let's say if I had 3 religious experiences in my life, 2 were at the grave of the Ari. For me, personally, for sure. And I've been working on this for a long time, you
I
know?
know.
And, but it's very powerful, especially if you're there alone. Just like a one-on-one. That's very experienced. I mean, if you have some preparation for it. Well, that was very special.
Wasn't each letter, they were able to like see each letter moving and the energy of it and what created
It's,
it.
it's interesting you mentioned that because in the creation story in Genesis, so again, there's 4 ways to look at everything in the Torah. That's the paradise, the pardes, the orchard of Torah. The simple, fundamental, literal way. The hint to that way, clues, that's not what it says, it's what it means. The thing that way, the morality, whatever. The ethical teachings. Everybody that teaches, Moses was the Hebrew school teacher of his 2 nephews.
Right.
From that we learn what the Torah says, they were the children of Moses. We know that's his it's in the Bible. We know whose Aaron's children were. They were Elazar and Tamar. This was not Moses' children, it was his nephews. Why did the Torah say it's his children? Because he taught them Torah.
Teachers
What
do
about
that
his-
nowadays too, they call their students their kids.
Yes, 100%. So we learn that these are all meanings in the Torah for today. It's all hinted in there. The PRD as the paradise is within the secreted in the text. You can't see it necessarily. For Kabbalah, for sure you can't see.
No.
That's why the Kabbalah, we gotta receive it from someone who received it, from someone who received it, etc. So, because you can't really see the stuff in there. But anyway, the Baal Shem Tov came along and he said, okay, things are tough in Dodge City, because from within and from without, the Jews are losing it. From without, you got the ground beaten out, the crap all out of us, it's very bad. From within, there's only 10% of the people educated. 90% are reading the Hebrew prayers, but they have no clue what they're saying. They had a nickname. It's like the N-word for in Rabbi. Lo yoda Maikomanikas. It means they don't know what they're saying, kind of people. So, and they sat in the back of the synagogue. The scholars sat to the front. The scholars had long black gabardines, because they were laying bricks and digging ditches like the 90%. And at 13, Jews were poor. 13 years old, they went to work. The kids, 13 years old, went to work. Maybe the girls before that. So basically 90% of the people were depressed. I mean, outside, it's you getting beat up because you're a Christ killer. Inside, and so the image was that the Jewish people was in a state of fate. So there's
State of fate?
fate.
Of
They
fate.
fainted.
Fate.
So there's a Kabbalistic remedy for a person who fainted. you whisper his Hebrew name in his ear. Anshu. Wake up, Anshu. If it doesn't work whispering, you up the volume, press the volume. Anshu. So that's you call him by the soul name, not the slave name. You give him Heinrich, whatever it is, Sprinzer. So so there's such a thing as reincarnation. I'm not going to get too involved right now, but God saw that the people, his people, are fainted, so he had to wake them up. So he whispered, Israel! He sent a new soul, not the soul that has been here before. It's called Neshama Chadasha. A new soul is a very holy soul. Not a lot of them. What did it say in the Kabbalah? God saw that saintly new souls are very few, going to be in the 6,000 years. So he planted a few in each generation. So he took a pristine
Are
holy...
those part of the hidden tzaddikim?
Actually not. That's a good question. The 36 hidden saints? Oh, yes, excuse me. Let me just not get sidetracked. Those 36 people are all new souls. All new souls. So let me just continue this story. I'm going to forget my whole shtick. So it's so he said Yisrael, said to the Jewish people in faith, Israel. So he sent a soul from the highest of the four worlds, the world of emanation, Olam HaAtzilut, to this world to wake up the Jewish people. His name was Baal Shem Tov. Israel Baal Shem Tov. They made an abbreviation called Besht. He said no preconditions. That's the first thing he did. No, that's it. If you're a Jew with a brain and an interest, those three things. You're in, that's it. You're a member of good standing. You don't need, that's it. You're interested, you have a brain, you want to spend some time studying this stuff, you like it, come in. And there were 3 generations in the first, so he lived only 300 years ago. We're talking about almost 3,000 years. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai, he taught, the 70 elders, the 12 princes of the tribes. He taught them all 4. Pshat Remez Drush Sod, the whole thing, including Sod, the secret teachings, the mystical, the soul. Then all the Jews came, that time let's say 2.5 million people, from Egypt, from the Exodus. He taught them Pshat Remez Drush. That's it. He didn't teach them Sod, it's a secret. It's called secret. In every generation, from Moses till the canonization of the Talmud, we have the names and the biographies, the wives and the children's names, of who is responsible for the Masoretic, meaning Limsor, to give over the tradition, the names of the people. And then it was written down, that's all she wrote, Mishnah and the Gemara, and that's it. So, there
were people like David, King David was...
Yeah, he obviously was one of the creators of Kabbalah. Yeah. That kind of thing. So what he's plugging into also is his harp. He had a harp in the king's palace above his bed. And he was obviously someone of that stature, knew all 4, not just 3. So he was part of that elite society. Yechidei Zgula, obviously King David, whom this Messiah is going to come from, he wrote one of the books of the Bible, so he had enough of an elevated soul that he knew not just the Pshat Remez Drush of the Bible, he knew the soul, the secret teachings. So the harp played melodies by itself. Before the push button, the harp played by the wind, whatever it was, like a wind chime, But those, he was called, the only one in Jewish history called Ne'im Zimirot Yisrael, the sweet singer of Israel. He composed 150 psalms and became one of the 24 books of the Bible. So that's, not only that, the majority of prayers in the prayer book is from his book. Bob, you had a question?
Regarding what you said earlier, that you said the new souls that come to this world,
Are very few and far between.
Are they still part of Adam's soul, or?
Everybody has to be part of Adam's soul.
So everyone is part of.
Yeah. But the Baal Shem Tov had a new soul.
Wait,
His name was Yisrael, and he had 3 generations of Hasidism. He was the first. He had a successor called Dov Ber, the great Maggid of Mezrich, called the Mezrich Maggid. And the Baal Shem Tov traveled. The Maggid was sick. but he was the successor. So he stayed in Mezrich, and he had 10 students. Baal Shem Tov had hundreds. And Magi, the second generation of the first 3 generations of Hasidism, he had 10 students. So the oldest, after Baal Shem Tov, after the Magi passed away, the oldest went to Israel. The youngest stayed in Europe. His name was Shneir Zalman. You know, flip the page, that's not So the Baal Shem Tov gave it over eventually to the Baal Tanya. Tanya is a classic of Jewish mysticism that bills itself as Kabbalah, kind of Kabbalah for dummies. I mean, kind of really, because it's Sechel Enushi. He renamed it. The Baal Shem Tov founded the Hasidic movement, Hasidism. The Alter Rebbe was called the Alter Rebbe. His name was Shneir. Well, that was one word, Shneir. But Shneir is going to be broken down to 2 words. Shnei, it means 2, or it means light. 2 lights. Which are the 2 lights? The light of and the light of what?
Revealed and hidden.
Good. Oraita is Aramaic for the Torah, because it comes from the word or, which means light. So he, the Baal Tanya, was not just the author of the classic Jewish mysticism, explained for non-mystic, called Tanya, but he was the master of 2 lights, founder of rational mysticism. That's what he called it. The Baal Shem Tov was the founder of general Hasidism. The 3rd generation, the youngest of the students in the 3rd generation was Shneir Zalman. He founded rational mysticism. Yeah.
It's not that important, but is Shnir Yiddish?
No, it's corrupted. It's Hebrew, but the pronunciation is corrupted by Yiddishization. It's Shnei Or.
So it's actually Shneur.
It's
Shnei
actually
Or.
spelled that way?
Yes, but not with a break. It's spelled as one
right.
word. Shneir. I mean, you corrupt it when you say Shneir. But I guess an Israeli would say Shnei Or. How do you say Shneir? Like that? No.
Shneur.
Shnei Or. Yeah, he says it right.
And he was the first one to have that name? Or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. But certainly with him, it meant he's 2 lights a master of. The rational and the mystical. Because he also wrote a code of Jewish law, which is accepted basically by the population. So this means he's in the revealed Torah, halakha, the laws. But he also was a master, obviously, of mysticism because he wrote the Tanya. These 10 students, of which he was the youngest, so each one became a Rabbi in different cities all over Europe and Russia. And at that time, most of the Jews lived all over Europe, most of Eastern Europe, and in Russia, in millions, before they killed 1/3 of the people in the world, of the Jews of the world. That was the Holocaust, obviously. So, before he published it, before the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, published his Tanya, it's a small book originally, a small tiny book. 5 parts, a small book. It's a little easy Hebrew. Ivrit Kala, but obviously the ideas and concepts are profound. And it's basically taking Kabbalah and explaining it for a person without any knowledge, really, a background. That's a big deal. So, I mean, it's almost. So one of the students of the Maggid, who was a contemporary associate, a colleague of Shneir Zalman, wrote back to him when he got the book of Tanya, because he wanted him to write out approbation. He said that it's amazing how you put such a great God into such a small book. So many facets to the God being. Kabbalah is the science of God. To date, there's about 3,000 volumes. God is a big topic, especially if he's infinite. But anyway, so, okay, Tensi wrote this straightly from the Kabbalah, I can flip it. Tensi wrote this earlier than the Alter Rebbe, but now we're getting close to okay, what is this? Oh, the Alter Rebbe's magnum opus, the Tanya, also known as book, for the normal. Now, until then,
So that's Kabbalah for dummies.
right, because until the Alter Rebbe, only 300 years ago, 250 years ago, all the books of Kabbalists were written not only by Kabbalists, they were written for Kabbalists. That's the problem. That's the reason they had this chosen elite society. Not because they were elitists. Because you really, it's hard to understand it if you don't have the prerequisites. So they said, okay, they all wrote books for tzaddikim, for saints, for Kabbalists. I mean, you know, I'm waiting, and the Alter Rebbe's revolution was, about Tanya, he wrote a book for normal people, for quote, Beinoni. Bain is saying B and N, first and last letter of a word, between. If you're not a saint and you're not a sinner, like a black irredeemable, then this book is for you. It's how to achieve a spiritual ideal. Yes?
You said Rabbi Schneer was the founder of rational mysticism.
Yes. They
Is
call
there-
it Hasidut Chabad.
So that's a category. Is there another category besides that?
Yes, emotional Hasidism.
Emotional mysticism.
And that means the Chagat Hasidim, they were, now they wrote big books, big volumes, like a Webster dictionary, encyclopedia volumes. And I'm just now almost completed, I started 3 weeks ago, a discourse, the shortest one in the book, about Hanukkah, from his son, told Bear. I have a son named after him. And it's just, it goes on, I mean, it's a lot of stuff. So, okay, this is, the Tanya really is for the normal average person, okay.
So
Let's continue, yeah?
uh,
Or what the ideal is.
so you said the other ones are emotional mysticism.
Right, oh, so these people would, those rabbis, the other rabbis,
Everyone
who
else.
believed in not rational mysticism, but in emotional mysticism, they'd come out and they'd say, for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, a quickie, and go back in and, oh, you know, and the Chassidim would dance with that for another hour. And, I don't know if I'm gonna take the time to write it, but what's the word for body in Hebrew?
Goof.
Goof. How many letters?
3.
Three.
So the Kotzker Rebbe was famous for sharp wit and very succinct, to understate it, marine discourses. The Alter Rebbe was famous, he wrote a book. Menachem Mendel Kotzker, from Kotzk, I would say the name of the city. So when he was a little boy, so his father was a Rebbe. So people knew that this little boy is going to grow up, he's going to be a Rebbe. So he never went to school. He had private tutors, and he was, like a prince. And he had some holy arrogance. I mean, he's the boss, being the son of the boss. And Chassidim would come from all over to be by the Kotzker Rebbe. I mean, he was a famous Rebbe. He gave blessings, and he was reputed as a Baal Mofet, wonder worker. Go ahead and get it. So he said, he came out once, he had a little anteroom to the synagogue. So he came out once from his room, Chassidim rose to attention. It wasn't with a certain time, whenever he felt like, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning. He came out, there's 150 people in the synagogue. He started to sing a melody, that melody means that precedes his discourse. And he said, goof. I know goof means a Hebrew for body. Then he broke it into an acronym a few times. Gimel, Vav, Fei, but in Yiddish. This was like creative. Goof. Goof will fressen. Again, using the 3 letters of the word body. Gimel, Vav, Fei. And now in Yiddish. Goof, like Katziati cat. He came out, sang the melody, stood up, and he said, in towels over his eyes, whatever, and everybody rose to attention, and he said, goof will fressen, body wants to be gluttonous, goof will fear, body wants to drink abundantly, goof wird pegeren, but the body's gonna die, goof will fort, body still wants, close the door. Went back in his room. Boom, that was the style in the early generations of Hasidism. Before rational mysticism means you should study Kabbalah like you study Talmud. It should be that, try to make it that crystal clear. It's an abstract. talking about God now. God, the soul. But, if I tell you, you have to give charity, tithing 10%, you have 100 bushels of wheat, how much you can make in a talk? But that's as clear. But here's the problematic. Okay.
I think it should be combined, I think it should be emotional, experiential, and logical.
Absolutely. So
it
that
should
is
be
the
all
way.
Because,
So rational mysticism doesn't mean, well, I have to study to know what it means. That's a whole school within Hasidism or mysticism, Kabbalah. But rational mysticism means what controls which, as opposed to Chabad and Chagat, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet. So I guess we said before, two primary emotions of the 7 emotions, the 5 offshoots are the Chagat, Nehim, but the two primary emotions is Chesed and Gvura, rather than love and strength. It's more being giving and being withholding. How much do you love me? How much are you giving me? Well, the other side of the coin is withholding. I'm hugging you, you're pulling away. Is it chesed or is it gevurah? Is it chesed shebek gevurah or is it gevurah shebek chesed? How much, let's go percentage-wise. Was that a 90% hug, a 95% hug? Was that a soul kiss? Kabbalah talks about kiss of death, soul kissing, and all that stuff like that. I mean, in terms of connection, soul with its better half, as it were, its other counterpart. So, but one of the most important new informations that Kabbalah can give to the Jewish world, people who are interested in doing this stuff and studying it, is that there's not one soul, but two. And that's the reason for Jewish spiritual schizophrenia. Because you have what I want to do, what I need to do, what I'm supposed to do, what I like to do, and who am I? I just call my mother, I feel terrible. I had a fight with her on the phone. I hate fighting with my mother. It's in the 10 Commandments, but she pushes my bike. Next day, I knew she needed a few things from it, and she couldn't drive. I went and I picked up this stuff, and I brought it in, and she fed me. She felt so happy, but who am I? Sometimes I'm fighting with them. I feel bad. I have regrets for my but am I my mother? Am I doing the mitzvahs or am I sinning? Am I every day? Well, one day at a time, for starters. But if you were one entity, then you can feel I'm a hypocrite. I'm in the middle of, I'm saying my prayers, and I had a bad movie flash just past when I was a bad kid watching the wrong kind of movies. In the middle of my Shema Yisrael, I don't want to see that. What was that about? That's called machshavazar, an alien thought. It was like before the internet, there was alien thoughts invading people's prayers. And I guess now I thought it was just me, But then I read the first of the 63 volumes of Talmud, and there it said, Gimel Aveirot, translation,
3 sins.
3 sins, Ein Adam Mitzu Mehen,
No one is safe.
no one is saved from Kol Yom,
Every day.
every day. And I thought it was just me. So when I read it, I'm very much comforted. The first one obviously is Masters and Johnson, Hihurei Aveira, illegitimate sexual thoughts. So from 15 to 55, priority number 1, according to those statistics. Tell you something, don't wait for 55. I'm pushing 70, I still have difficulty. But if I was only one entity, a monolithic, singular soul, then I think, am I Meshuggah? I'm in the middle of Shema Yisrael, I'm thinking about the ball game. Or worse. But the person isn't one. They're two. You have not one soul. The Bible says, Neshamot ani asiti. I made souls. Well, it means plural, but it's not the general plural, because the Torah verse never begins in the singular, the same sentence, and ends in the plural.
Does it refer to the Yitzhahara and the Yitzhahara?
That's very good, but actually that's more from the revealed Torah, what you're saying. That's Talmudic. Kabbalah has a prior step to, well, let me just translate what you said. So Lisa said that there is Yitzhahara and Yetzer Tov. Good inclination and a bad inclination. But that's when you're already inclined. That's why when it has form, it has direction, go prior to that in your soul, and you find out number two souls. And they're made from different ways. One is by speech, like the rest of creation. One of them was by Basarama Amarot Nivra Haolam. It says that in the Mishnah, the most important book of the Torah.
The animal soul and the godly soul?
Oh wait, no.
No?
First let's translate, before that let's translate. Let's first, you're skipping steps here for the English speakers. What's that mean? Basarama Amarot,
10 sayings.
with 10 sayings, Nivra Haolam.
The world was great.
Okay. So the world was created by speech. Someone says, what's the mechanism God used to create the world? It's in Genesis. Every Protestant and Episcopalian knows the answer to that question. The Bible, they study the Bible. With speech, except for the soul. Bodies, physicality was created by 10 sentences, which there's substitution, numerology and stuff, with those 10 letters and 10 sentences that compute to every creation. Okay. But when it came to the soul, there it says, Vayipach bi'apav, even the Israelis might not know this. And God exhaled into man's nostrils, Nishmat Chayim, the soul of life. And living, a soul, not that living soul, but a soul that animates, that causes you to be alive. From a zak inflation later, from like a sack of flesh and bones, there's two bodies next to each other, exactly the same. One's working, one isn't. The one that isn't working is called dead. What's missing? They're exactly the same. So the definition is absence of soul. That's animal soul. So anyway, getting ahead of myself. Two souls, not one soul. Yeah?
Now a question. When a human being experiences an outer body experience, is it that the soul leaves and the body goes into autopilot, or what's going on?
That happens every night. Sometimes you remember it. Most of the time you don't. But there's something Kabbalah, again it's Aramaic, not Hebrew, called Kista Dechiyuta, a thread of life. Sleep is 1/60th of death. The person's eyes are closed, he's not moving, his sense of hearing is diminished. I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you right now, he doesn't hear me, he's sleeping. And so where's the soul? The soul is having a out-of-body experience, going to heaven to replenish the booster shot, the electric car plug-in, for my phone. But you can't leave the body completely, or else you'd be dead. So it's called kista dechiyuta, thread of animating life is connected to the body. That's why if you God forbid you're seeing somebody in the hospice, and the person is on the way to heaven. I mean, it's a hospice, and you're there. I mean, the family's gathered, but I mean, I'm a rabbi, I do that a lot. So I tell the people, don't call him now. You know, he's trying to get to heaven and making it difficult for the transition. Please don't call him by the Hebrew name. Yankel, you know, Chatzko, don't, because then the person, like, it's called goses. He's fluttering on his way to heaven, yeah.
What if somebody doesn't have a Hebrew name, but it's never called?
That's definitely problematic, because that's a pipeline from above to below.
Or if they only have a Hebrew name, you know.
Sorry?
just- There's one name, and it's their Hebrew name. You call them Hey You.
Yeah, but the thing is that the truth is, a Hebrew name is conveyed to the soul, like everything in the physical, like a bris, physicality. In other words, the Torah should be out, at a Torah reading in a service, and there you see a prayer in the presence of the Torah being read to a minyan of Mishaber Hawatina, blah, 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 you know, God who blessed our forefathers and matriarchs, bless the person, and her name should be called in Israel, Barabin. And that's when so that's called sinor, the pipeline of blessing. Because how does God's blessings, let's say you prayed, and God said yes. The blessings could be going from heaven straight to you, but they stop 10, this is called a handbreadth. 10 handbreadths above the earth. That means right there. They're right here, the ticket, $242 million you buy. You don't buy more than one, it only takes one. But it's right there, now they off a digit, because you couldn't go, because you don't, it's right there, you got it. But he said yes. God said yes. You want that, I'm giving it. But you don't have a name. Your soul. You can get a blessing if your soul is nameless. So it's a blockage. It's a stoppage for the blessing. Let me get ahead of it. The main thing is the two souls. Two souls have names. The natural soul and the divine soul. Because what's natural is what's natural. It's also called the animal soul, the rational soul. There's a few.
Is that
The godly soul, the divine soul, the holy soul. Are two separate souls that have two different agendas. Each one has 10 soul powers, intellect and emotions. The godly soul uses its intellect to understand its higher power and the Torah. The godly soul uses its emotions to love God and to have the two levels of fear of God. Fear of punishment and fear of the exalted awesomeness of God. For me personally, it was like being at Hearst Castle, and I had a little gum wrapper, and I thought, I can't do that here. Hearst Castle. I'll put it in my, and I want to stick this yucky can, but it's Hearst Castle. There's no one watching, but I can't. It's Hearst Castle. What was the guy's name? What was it? I forgot. Hearst, I guess Hearst. You read it? Rudolph the Randolph, whatever it was. Anyway, it's Hearst Castle. Saint Simeon. So, it's called Yirat Hata in Kabbalah. Again, it's Aramaic. Yirat Hata'a, Yira Ila'a. Lower fear, higher fear. Simply put, besides the volumes, lower fear is Yirat Ha'onesh. What does that mean? Fear of? What's it? Punishment. The higher level of fear is Yirat HaRomamut, or Yirat Boshet, a certain self-consciousness in the presence of God, the big and almighty God. So that's like being in Hearst Castle all the time. So that's, but again, the most important is the tale of two souls. What's this? Or maybe the most important, yeah. Does it say Jewish or schizophrenic? What does this say? Is a little low for myself.
To understand yourself.
All right. So here, what's the practical value of Kabbalah kicks in immediately? Let's say there's one way to be saintly and rise to your ideal behavior if you know about this, and then you know how to address it. Because Yidiyat Habaka Chatzi Refuah. Diagnosis is half the cure. If you know how you work, so you're much better equipped for behavior mod. So the first time your soul is trying to get in touch with you, going from your subconscious, or more preferred your unconscious, to your conscious mind, you don't get a thought that builds in your mind as the thought is. A thought comes into your mind fully formed. Where did it come from? If it came in your, it didn't start to build in your mind, but it came fully a thought. So where it came, it was fully formed before it got to you. Where was it fully a thought before it came into your consciousness? When it was in your subconscious. Soul, Jung calls it psyche. There are two, this is important also. Two behavioral scientists, Freud and Jung, they knew each other, one was a student of the other. Freud was a Jew, but he was very anti. When he got married, he told his wife, okay, listen, you come from a nice German Jewish family, but you can't light Shabbos candles in my house. I can't handle it. Religion is for the father neurosis, and I can't have you doing that here. I can't because it's my Freudian And Jung is my student, and his father's a Protestant minister, he has already too much religion. And that's not, doesn't sink in with my, the way I understand behavioral science. So, Jung wrote 12 books. Carl Gustav, you're not Jewish man. In his last book, he writes two mind-blowing things. He writes in italics because they weren't English, they were in Hebrew, two Hebrew words. What you just said. Yetzer Hara. And then he writes the book, for me, one of the most mind-blowing things about Jung. And I saw the movie about the documentary on Jung. You have to see Jung. He's an old man before he dies. And he's this cherubic looking old man, white beard, long white hair, and a good Protestant fellow. And he has this amazing smile, and there's an interviewer interviewing Jung. And in the middle of this movie, an hour movie I saw with Olivia, and then there's art theater, Olympic Theater in Santa Monica, the interviewer asks Jung, do you believe in God? And he's like, he's an old man, he's speaking slowly anyway. So everybody, including me, was on the edge of the chair. For me, it's more important. I could lose my job. I mean, if there's no God, I'm done. I'm over. But 44 years, I can't even retire. But, so I'm in the wrong minute. So in front of me was interesting sitting, who was it? The graduate. Dustin Hoffman is sitting in front of me with a Jewish man. I felt good about that. She's like, oh, very nice. Anyway, so he asked him, do you believe in God? So Jung is very slow moving at this time. It is a bit before time. He says, he repeats the question. He emphasizes it differently. He goes, believe in God. He said, don't believe in God. I know there's a God. He said, with such amazing conviction, I mean, like, but the second line in the last book, I can't pronounce the name of the last book, it's Latin, so I don't know. Anyway, in his 12th book there, he writes everything that everything that I know and have experienced, and I've written those, was already intuited by a Hasidic rabbi a century ago. And he writes the name, Dov Ber of Mezrich. He was a successor of the Baal Shem Tov. So Jungian psychology, and it wasn't based on that, but he said, he read this, I mean, I never said anything in English from him, from the Maggid. I don't know it exists. It seems more likely that Jung had a teacher.
Or maybe it was translated into Yiddish
And then maybe he spoke it to me in German.
German.
It could be. You know what, there are some very few Yiddish Kabbalah. Not really. I mean, I don't have to think about it. Anyway, so that's the most important thing. To realize, if you push the 2-second pause button, many difficult everyday ways to be a saint. What is it called? As soon as you get a thought, you push the 2-second pause button and you ask yourself the same question always. If you want to do any one of 3 vehicles of human expression, a person can only express themselves, a human, in one of 3 ways. Machshava, dibur, maaseh. Machshava, dibur, maaseh. Okay. Those are called in Kabbalah the 3 garments of the soul. So what would be your most intimate apparel? Thought. Thought is hidden from everybody else. It's private. But it's ongoing all the time. I never appear without my undies, my gakis. So I'm always...
There's a way to not think.
No, there isn't.
Not without
On
problem.
a certain level, they're like...
No, there is. There's a way to completely block out all conscious thought.
Conscious.
Extreme
Again,
meditation.
conscious thought that could be.
Conscious thought.
Yeah. But a person is called Yam HaMachshava, a sea of thoughts. Even when you're in they have like when a person's comatose, and then he wakes up, he tells you what you were saying, you know, when your doctor's over him or whatever or his wife, the nurse, whatever said. So he was comatose, but the soul is always there. Like Machshava is always there. Dibur is some talking, some not talking. Din is even further removed. So anyway, let's say there's 3 garments of soul. But there's 2 souls. So if you can remind yourself, as it were, every time you get a thought, to push the 2-second pause button and say, which soul just sent me in that thought? If it's from my animal soul, I don't want to be an animal. I'm one person. I'm a human. I don't want to be reactionary. This person insulted me in public. I just thought of a great one-liner, a zinger. She'll hate the day she was born. I'm gonna wear her. I can't wait. And then I think to myself, 2-second pause button, which soul is giving me the zinger to kill this person that I want to kill, who killed me? Is it my divine, holy, godly soul? No, I don't think so. No. Revenge, embarrassing a person. She did that to you. What did it say about a tzaddik, a righteous person? Shom'im cherpatam. What does that mean? Shema, shom'im. They hear their insult, their disgrace. Ve'einam meshivim. And they do not reply. Sorry you feel that way. Okay, you can even say lose my number, but I mean, we're not going to be friends probably, but love you anyways. Love you. Bye. So, it's about the 2-second pause button. But it's not about, I'm involved in this study, in this meditation, in this prayer for 10 years. Is it all fake? Is it all not real? Am I a hypocrite? Is this a joke? Is this not really part of me? Am I an imposter? You know, there's now this new imposter coming. So, it's always been the same. Kabbalah explains that there's 2 souls. Okay, quickly let's look at Hanukkah. Okay, there's 2 souls, not 1.
Are we switching?
Yeah, switch the page. Okay, you switch that page also. Let's see, go further, start with what?
That's good.
Okay, there's really, very quickly, there's a little more detail. Besides the soul, the 2 souls, it's actually 5 parts of the soul. Naran Chai, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya Yechidah. What does it mean very briefly? That the founders of Judaism were the 3 patriarchs. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were not just our fathers, but they were obviously consummate Kabbalists. The first father of the Jewish religion gave everybody the key to accessing the first of the 5 parts of their soul. Pray the morning service. Abraham founded it. So you can get in touch with Nefesh, the first part of your soul, the lowest part, if you did what Abraham said to do to the Jews. Pray Shacharit, pray the morning service. The Shema is in there. So you're first being empowered to get in touch with your own animating Nefesh of the 5 parts of the soul, is to do Abraham's service. The second father was Yitzchak. He said you have now, every day, ruach. You can get in touch not just with the animating part of your soul, but if you pray the afternoon service, mincha, you can get in touch with the second part of your soul, the ruach. The Reish stands for ruach. That's nefesh. I should spell it out. They're all the synonyms, not synonyms. What does the Midrash say? The Midrash is the same level as Mishnah. After the Bible, it's the Mishnah and the Midrash, same authors. The Midrash says, Chamisha Shemot Nikru'ula. The soul is called by 5 names. These are the 5 names. Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chaya Yechidah. It all means soul, but in Hebrew, it's the Holy Tongue, there's no thesaurus. There's no true synonym. Every word is exact in the Holy Tongue. Lashon HaKodesh. There are no synonyms. Because everything's exact. It has a meaning. It's not 5 names to the soul. 5 parts to the soul. So Yitzchak founded the afternoon service. Jacob founded the Nefesh Ruach Neshama, the evening service. The 3rd part of your soul is Neshama, and that is the intellect. 2nd part is the emotions. Now, but you only do is only 3 services a day. So that's what you can get in touch with every day on a weekday, a regular weekday. What about Hanukkah? What about Rosh Chodesh? What about Shabbat? What about a holiday? Number 4. It's the only time you can do it, not weekdays. Want to hit number 4 of your soul? You gotta do it Shabbat, get an extra soul. What does it mean, extra soul? The revealed Torah says, Yishamai Terah, extra soul, but it doesn't explain what it is. This Torah is important. Every Shabbat you get an extra soul. Do you know what that is? Do you know how to use it? You know what it means? Can you define it? I'm not being angry. I just want to say that that's the reason 40% of incoming freshmen are all psych majors. I know that from being a campus rabbi for 20 years. Because people are interested in their most important subject. Oh, me. Adam Karov Yitzchak, I want to know how I work. How that will help me in making decisions and stuff like that. Extra soul means you double your capacity for spiritual experience. You can get a hold and track of where did that thought come from. I want to say this to that person. No, push the 2-second pause button. Which soul? I want to do this. You got 2 souls. That's only 2. Which one come? So then if you want to get in touch a little bit, so this is for holidays. What about the 5th part of your soul, the highest part of your soul?
Wait, so what does that stand for?
Okay? Chaya.
Chayat, okay.
And this stands for Yechidah. Thanks for reminding me.
That's Kippur, right?
Yes. One day a year only, you can get in touch with the highest of the 5 parts of your soul, Yom Kippur. 24-hour window of opportunity for the whole year. That's the only time you
So on
You're fasting 24 hours, you're davening your heart out, standing hat. It's like an AIDS benefit, it's a prayer marathon. What are you saying?
So on Shabbat and Chagim, it's the 4th.
4th time, right.
So we're always connected from 1, 2, 2, 3.
Yes.
Okay.
That you have an animating soul makes you alive, that you have emotions and you have intellect.
So
It's
why-
part of your soul.
so-
Get lifted now. Yeah?
Why does I've read here and there that some people are only under nefesh level, some people are just under ruach level. What does that mean?
Well, yeah, because I mean, each one is more profound and it's more difficult to achieve
So the
and
more
to get
spiritual
in
you
touch
are, the
with.
more in.
Most
elevated you are.
people should try to concentrate and focus on the first level. That, because most people, majority of people, aren't here tonight. It's just about the here and now and forward mobility in my career, professional relationship, money, whatever. But that spiritual reality is not for most people. They're not really driven to give up and even to look for that. So finally, let's get to Hanukkah. Hanukkah is made up, this is the Hebrew word of Hanukkah, can be split up into 2 words. Chanu, Chafei. They rested on the 25th of the month of Kislev. So, yeah, so it's the Festival of Lights. Light has a unique quality. What's the unique quality of lights? A small amount of light pushes away a disproportionate amount of darkness. What's wrong with darkness? Confusion. I don't know where my glasses are. I don't know where something could... It's dark, I'm going to fall and trip and break my whole... I'm going to do damage to myself. Is this good for me? Is it not good for me? So here, flip the thing again. Yeah, flip it one more time. The page, yeah.
What was the red?
Sorry?
The red.
The red is the Ma'at Or Dilcha Habir Choshen. A little bit of light pushes away a disproportionate amount of darkness. So already, it's Hanukkah, the festival of lights, that is pushing away, it's making all of us enlightened. But sometimes, now Jung calls the soul psyche, P-S-Y-C-E. That's his word for soul. So sometimes it remains in the psyche and doesn't enter into the, as this, in the more modern shrinks called the unconscious. Okay, Hanukkah festival of lights, enlightenment, as opposed to confusion, I already said that. So it's all about or light. How much is light? Aleph Vav Reish. Aleph is 1, Vav is 6, Reish is 200, so it's 207. What's the word for secret? So, but what's another word for secret? Like Raziel HaMalach,
Remez?
Raz. Same equivalent.
Not remez?
Remez is hint or clue.
Hint, okay.
So or, and anything that is numerically equivalent, this is a rule, The rule comes from one tremendous axiom in Judaism, period. And that axiom is called in Yiddish, bashert. Destino in Spanish means meant to be. There's a method to the madness, divine master plan. So it means it was destined to be. Numerical equivalents have some connection. So if your name equals Mashiach, maybe we should start to listen to you. I want your phone number. I want to get the goods before it happens. I want to know, when are you coming? Yes.
Is it possible to do a shift change with the flipping of the?
Of the letters?
Yeah,
Sure.
of the pages.
There's
We have to.
Oh, no, we have to go further to Hanukkah. We didn't finish Hanukkah, it's not much late. And we finish that, then we'll go back. But we're now up to the first time we hit Hanukkah, Kabbalah of Hanukkah. So the confusion here, oh yeah. So what was, there are 6 days of creation. What was created on the first day of creation?
Heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth, but more specifically,
Or
light. He or let there be light. So we said already that Hanukkah has to do with the number 25. On the 5th day, on the 25th day of Hanukkah, my true love? No, that's wrong. So the 25th day of Hanukkah, Chanuch Hey. The rest on the 25th. When's the first time light appears in the Bible? Let there be light, or, Yehi or. What number word is that? Yes, the 25th, thank you. So the 25th word in the Bible is light. Yeah? So if the 7 days of creation, we said that the soul is divided into 10 soul powers, 3 and 7, 3 and 7 emotions. So the 7 emotions of God, 7 spheres, sphirot, created Shivat Yemei HaBinyan, the 7 days of the building. Which building? The universe. Every Sunday through Saturday, every day, there was another sphira that created those days of creation. What was therefore the first? You said light was, that's a hint.
chesed,
Chesed.
because it's given.
Chesed was the first day of creation. Yeah, so that's why light, water, lots of chesed stuff. You got that again? Oh yeah, 25th word is Kislev. So, definition of, oh. Now, light itself is about Hanukkah, right? Festival of Lights, candle lights. Purim was physical. Genocide. First time in history, genocide. Nowhere to run. All the countries of the known world, 127 countries, are under the power of one king. So there's nowhere to run, like the Nazis. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. So on one day, they're going to kill the Jews, not change their religion. They're going to kill the Jews. That was physical. There are 2 post-biblical holidays, Purim and Hanukkah. Hanukkah, they didn't want to kill the Jews. Read the Bible, no problem. Do your holidays. Just don't get God involved. Read the Bible as literature. Shakespeare, Bible, Lord of the Flies, whatever. But don't bring, you can't have God there. No God. Because God, as to intense, it means you had divine revelation. That means kind of like you're right. And what does that make us? So we can't have God there. We like Zeus and a bunch of gods and stuff like that. So, but light comes from enlightenment. In the written Torah in the Bible it says Nerash, it gives a definition of soul. We've been looking for that. Maybe you can know you have one. I feel I have one, I know I have one. But I don't know what it is. The difference is between recognition of something and understanding of identity. We have to achieve an experience of, one of the highest spiritual mystical experiences is unio mystica. Getting so connected with God being that you recognize that you have a soul. Even if you don't know the particulars, you have a soul experience. It was like a tickle. And I have, a little, what is it called, resonating truth. Something going on. So, well, how does the Torah describe the soul of man? Nishmat Adam. It has 2 words before that. Ner Hashem, what does that mean?
Candle of the
The candle of God is the soul of man. What similarities are there between a candle and a soul? Restlessness, frustration. The flame is frustrated. It's never still, it's never shashtil, it's never tranquil. It's always, and it's always elevating. Turn it upside down, you're gonna get, because it's always wants to go up. The soul is restless, it wants to. So Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, yeah, turn it again. So it's about light. So that's part of it, the Festival of Lights. One more time, I think. Yeah. Okay, 5 parts. Okay, now this gets a little more, and we'll end with this, because this is a little bit more strict Kabbalah without filter. Okay, so the Kabbalah says that there's 5 parts to an oil lamp. Already oil is something. There's water, tasteless, colorless, odorless. You need water. You can't exist without water, but it's water. Then there's wine. Now you got my attention. Some good cab, or something red like red drive, and everybody twitch up. I'm supported by one of my great supporters. I'm very happy every Shabbos. I get a bottle of wine. So, well, what's the difference about wine? Nichnas yain yatsa sod. When wine goes in, secret enters. Oh, sorry. When wine enters, secret exits. What's on a drunk man's tongue is on a sober man's lung. I mean, that's the Yiddish. Well, it's in Yiddish also. Anyway, why is that? Because secret, we said, is sod, right? So that's 3 Hebrew letters. Samach is 60, Vav is 6, and Dalet is 4. How much is that? 70. Sold. How about yayin? What's the word for wine? Yud, Yud, Nun. Yud is 10, Yud is 10, Nun is 50. So it's the same. You drink a wine, it transforms and comes out the secrets. The revelation of secrets come out from the. So don't be an alky. Be a 12-stepper. Okay, that was the commercial. However, there's something. So in other words, Yena Shel Torah. What's the wine of Torah? The secrets of Torah, Kabbalah, mysticism. What about oil? Let's see it. Water, wine, and oil. You get a hydraulic dynamo. You mix it, and then you wait 2 minutes. What's on top?
oil.
Oil. There's something called Razin Deoraita, secrets of the light, is the Torah. Then there's something called Razin Dirazin Deoraita, that in the secrets, there's secrets. When you study Kabbalah, there's hidden things that you need another teacher for. The great news is that maybe 3 years ago, an unknown person named Daniel Frisch died in Jerusalem. Nobody ever heard of him. He was born in Jerusalem, he died in Jerusalem, and I met his son. And he was a quiet scholar of Kabbalah, and he took the 3 volumes and made 20 volumes, Kabbalah for Dummies, the original Kabbalah for Dummies, 3 years ago. He died 3 years ago, but he didn't publish it until he died.
It's in English?
No, and he's a Hebrew. And he also gave a code. If it's too analytical Kabbalah and you don't have a background, you're not going to understand it. He put it in Rashi script. The Hebrew is like a certain kind of shorthand. If it's normal, it's Zohar, but you have to be somewhat somewhat knowledgeable, so you put it in block letters. Block letters, you can understand it, I mean, basically, the Zohar. So he took it out. So it's not so simple. So, and the point is, Shemen, oil, is the secrets of the secrets. So it's the highest, it always rises to the top. So he said, the Kabbalah says 5 parts to an oil lamp. Another thing about oil, why is oil? Because oil, there's no room left for anything else but the oil. It soaks you through and through. There's no part of your sleeve that was in the oil, it's not going to get permeated and immersed and drowned in the oil. Yeah, wine, you can get away from it. Oil you can get away from. And if you're wine, I don't necessarily make you whiny if I have wine. If I'm full of oil and I lean on you, you're gonna get oil. So that's, anyway, the container is one, the oil, it's fuel, it's the highest. What did it say? It's an immersion. So it's, Then there's the wick, which represents the human body. The fourth is fire, but the fire has two parts, which is note 4 and 5. The colors of the flame. The wick is the body. The flame is the Shekhinah soul inside of you, and it's shining above your head. Kabbalists look at your forehead to see your past lives and what
Same
you...
thing as aura?
Sorry?
Is that the same thing as aura?
Kind of, yeah. There was one of the Tanya is in 5 parts. It had 4 translators. Rabbi Dr. Emmanuel Shochet was a philosophy professor in Canada, but also a Hasidic Jew. And he once came to the Rebbe when he was young, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, like Rebbe, he passed away some 20 years ago, and he heard the Rebbe could read what you've been doing from your forehead. So he had a hat, and he said, put it like this. So it went like that. I can see even through it, it's not a problem. There were 2 Kabbalists talking together, and he really liked them, so he had a relationship. I mean, he wouldn't do that to me, but he was more unexpressive, unless there was meant to be expression. But with Emmanuel Shochet, he was more connected personally. So now it's close to the wick, the light is dark. You can't see it so much from these kind of, but from a candle, if you look between the wax and the wick, there's like brown and a little tinge of blue. The top of the flame is, so that's called dark radiance. Illuminated radiance is called the top of the flame. That's enlightenment. That's real, it's lighter. Dark radiance means, okay, you have a problem understanding Kabbalah. Why did they make the prerequisites? Not because they're elitists. Number one, it's hard to understand it if you're too connected to physicality. If you have attachments, it's called attachments. There's 10 levels of holiness. The highest is studying with a celestial being, like an angel 101. What's the lowest? Kindergarten for Kabbalah, for holy. What's the, of 10, I would tell you, the highest is like, oh, thank you, I don't know if I know anybody like that. But the lowest level of holiness is ishtabut. It means, in fancy word in English, equanimity. Equanimity means hein v'lav shavim. Yes and no is the same. I feel good, I don't feel good. You insulted me, you praised me, you complimented me. It tastes good, it doesn't. I'm tired, I'm not, it's irrelevant. It reminds me of that billboard. The woman's in a sports bra and shorts and she got this $100 sneakers and she's pumping up, and the caption reads, you can rest when you're dead. That inspired me for 5 years already. Not the image, the caption. But I think about, I'm wasting sleep is such a, it's I could find out who I am, my favorite topic, how my soul works, how I react and how I should not react. So, okay, I think there's another page. Let's go if there's one more. And we'll give you a prize for working with it. No, that's
That's
no more.
a better prize.
No. So anyway, the idea here of this meditation, when you like the oil lamp, so is to, obviously the meditation is to access those parts that parallel the stuff in you. In other words, a lot of Kabbalah is to harmonize and unify materiality and spirituality. That is, and there's let's say there's a straight revealed Torah law that after you light the Hanukkah candles, except for Friday nights, you should sit here for an hour by the candles. Play dreidel, eat latkes, but you shouldn't light and leave. Sit there for an hour by the candles burning. Kabbalistically, you don't sit and play dreidel. And you could, you should, family, but there's a meditation. What do you meditate on for half an hour? That the candles are burning. You can meditate looking at the candles. That's a favorite form of meditation of the Goya. But we know that's What's another great one-liner? There's lots of new and true things in the New Testament. And you get the Jesus junkie came to attack you, you got his attention. And you sing him, you tell him, yes, but the true things aren't new, and the new things aren't true. So, but here, the Kabbalistic meditation enlightening is that Kabbalah has a goal, among other things. The main goal is to explain God. Okay. So in terms of practical value for the individual Jew, it's how to unify. It's the most important word in our religion. Echad, our Lord is Hashem Echad. Well, there's two parts. I mean, there's the spiritual and there's the physical reality. So the idea is to unify the two. How do you unify the two? By the 5 parts of the oil lamp. All 5 parts are essential. But where it comes to the, what is it, showdown of the OK Corral, the wick represents your physical body. The oil is the deepest secrets of mysticism. The oil has a natural nature to be drawn into the wick, but it's a contradictory nature. What's the 2 parts of the dichotomy? One is that the oil has a nature to be drawn, attracted to the wick, body stuff. At the same time, what's going to happen to the wick? It's going to get consumed. It will be burnt up. So it has this wanting and getting destroyed. So knowing that I'm going to go in the wrong place, and I'm going to get, but that's where it wants to go. Once you realize that, you can say, where do I want to go? What is it? I remember this bumper sticker, and then you could get a guy who was over here doing bumper sticker. I had a bumper sticker collection, I never enjoyed it, because it was in my drawer. So I had a big Suburban, so I put it on my Suburban. I was stopped by the cops countless times. And they didn't like my bumper sticker collection. Because one bumper sticker went on, and one said, and I got it from whoever, he who dies with the most toys wins.
Yeah.
That was one. So I did that the same wording, I just punctuated with a question mark at the end. I mean, is that all there is? I mean,
Why did you get stopped by cops?
because I had like 32 bumper stickers on a Suburban, and they thought, you have a problem with my 60s, like VW bus, you looking for drugs? Yeah. Yes, sir, no problem. And my kids I picked them up for the most religious day school, Haredi yeshiva in LA, they were all embarrassed. I didn't know that until I got married, they didn't tell me that. I like my bumper stickers. Things like that. But, so, you need an extra soul, or a little something, a special sensitivity to spiritual stuff, to know that, or to seek the quote other reality. Because there's more than here and now. So I mean that sort of thing. This morning I was at a Shiva minyan. Rabbi passed away, Rabbi Shalom, Rabbi Shulais, was at the funeral. So this morning I went to his son, to the Shiva. So I noticed, and I know about Or in Hebrew, Aleph of Resh, and Raz are numerical equivalents, light and secret. When you get enlightened, there's the secrets in there, and it's 207. So it was interesting that I got out of the Shiva house, I'm taking an Uber home, I'm Ubering it home, and I see the address, I gotta tell the Uber guy, 207, I love when that happens. I just, I love that, those what's his name, Jung, invented a word for that, and it's in the Webster Dictionary. He invented a word. It's called synchronicity. Things are synchronized by divine intervention. That's his definition. Webster does whatever, accidental something, coincidence. But that's whatever. But the point is, Jung didn't believe anything was random, because he was a big God person. I don't know if he got it from his Protestant father. He was big God, psyche and soul, big time of God. I said that. So, but anyway, so that's the meditation. through this half an hour for 8 days, 8 nights, including tomorrow until sundown, I can plug into a super consciousness that goes beyond the here and now. On Passover, it's a biblical holiday. So some people degrade or downgrade Hanukkah because it's a post-biblical holiday. There's a special prayer you say on holidays. What's it called?
Hallel.
Hallel.
Say full.
On Passover, you only say the full Hallel the first 2 days of Passover. The last 6 days of Passover, the last 5 days of Passover, you only say half Hallel. On Hanukkah, you say full Hallel all 8 days. Why is Hanukkah more than Passover on a certain level, on a certain spiritual level? Because Hallel means what?
Praise.
It's Hebrew
Praise.
praise. It also comes from another verse in the Bible. Behilo neiro. There's that word again, ner. We said ner is the definition of soul. Ner in the Bible. Ner Hashem, the candle of God. Nishmat Adam, he's the soul of man. So, behilo neiro means your candle is shining. Your soul is shining. So it means it's not shining, it's maybe shining every second, but you don't experience it. When you say whole Hallel, you want to say half Hallel. But all the more so when you say the whole Hallel prayer, why did the sages say you should, on the Hanukkah, say all 8 days? Because you get an extra soul on Hanukkah. Because your candle is shining. Because you have the ability to have an experience that you don't have when it's not Hanukkah. That means you ask different questions. You understand the answers differently. Okay, I'm done.
Sure.
Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy